Good morning, welcome one and all to the International Annual Conference of the INSS, the 10th in number. It is a bit cruel this hour, but the topic is no less one which justifies this time of the day. We would like to open the second day of our conference with a discussion concerning the settlement. Are they an asset or a liability? Do they contribute to national security or perhaps undermine it? I would like to start with a short presentation of all the speakers in this conference. Those who wish to look into their biographies can do this in the booklet of the conference. Hagit Ofran works in the Shalom Achshav follow-up project of the settlement, one of the most accurate sources of information about the settlement. She tracks the activity of the government, she examines aerial photos, and she decides when to bring into the knowledge of the public what is going on in the field. Yossi Dayan is the mayor of Shomron Regional Council, established the religious settlement of Samur that was evacuated, and Chomesh Tchila, and the committee of the settlers of Shomron. He lives in Shavei Shomron, where he moved from Sanur after the disengagement plan. Major General in Reserve Noam Tibon, commander of the Israeli Northern Force, in 2007 was appointed the commander of Division 207 Enduring Protective Edge, and that was a timely event. He was appointed to be in charge of the investigations of the IDF, which are at the very focus of public discussion today. Dr. Robert Dayan, מאוניברסיטת, הוא עמד בראש המשלחת האמריקנית הבריטית של טוני בלר מאפריל 2008 עד אוגוסט 2010. דוקטור דנין שירת כסגן מזכיר המדינה לענייני המזרח הקרוב, ובנוסף לתפקידים אחרים. The settlements, one of the most controversial topics that splits up and splinters the Israeli society, not only within Israel, but also between Israel and the overseas communities. Definitely, it poses a danger for an internal strife, and the main question that hovers above this discussion before we truly enter the crux of the matter, assuming that we all wish to have a country here that would be the democratic state of the Jewish people, a safe, secure, legitimate, free country. This necessitates separating from the Palestinians, and if there is such a separation, there would be an evacuation of the settlement. The question, on the other hand, of course, is can we secure a Jewish Israel, a democratic Israel for many generations to come, according to a different outline, which is not that of two states for two nations. Everyone has their own opinion. My personal opinion is that apparently this will not be done in any other outline or plan, but we'll hear about this in the session. By the way, that is the declared policy of the Prime Minister, two states for two nations. A month ago, the Security Council of the UN we received the resolution 2234, which determined that the settlements are not legal. A few days later, we had the John Kerry speech saying that the settlements are the main hurdle standing before the resolution of the conflict, and then the Paris Committee. And a few days ago, Trump had his inauguration as President of the United States. I would like to start with you, Yossi Dayan. You've just returned from the inauguration events. The Trump era, with David Friedman as ambassador to Israel, have you actually returned, well, with an open, check, as it were, for the continuation of the construction in the settlement without any objection coming from Washington in the next few years? First of all, good morning. I do not think that I personally, as an Israeli citizen or as an Israeli, elected officer, should receive an open check from any country in the world. The opened checks or the confirmations are only given to us by the government of the State of Israel. The dramatic change that did take place in the U.S., this dramatic change has, far-reaching ramifications on the State of Israel in two central contexts. First of all, a very sympathetic administration that I personally have, hosted many people in Samaria who came to see us. There is a great deal of recognition of the needs of the State of Israel and a wish to help us a lot more than in the past. The first call Obama had was with Abu Mazen after his inauguration. Here it was exactly the opposite. But the ball is not in Washington. The ball is in Jerusalem. And I think that in the new administration there is going to be a lot less pressure. I believe that, Trump will denounce the construction. He will disagree. I think that a friendly, sympathetic administration that understands the needs of the State of Israel will pose less difficulties, or perhaps not at all, or even provide a certain tailwind to the government in order to help it do what it needs to do. I think that the new administration will give more, power to the government of the State of Israel to do as it deems fit. Chagit, the bowl in Jerusalem is in Jerusalem, says Yossi Dagan. But what do you do in order to prepare it to the next few years? I think that mostly we are trying to mobilize the internal forces in Israel. I have a feeling that we're beginning to feel the internal forces because we understand that ultimately those who will decide the end of the occupation and the two-state solution would be the Israeli public. Hence, we need to mobilize the Israeli public and not... it's not the world that would force us to do anything unless the public wishes to do it. I do not know what lies ahead of us with the new administration. It's too early to tell. Rob? נעבור אליך כעת. אתה כבר נמצא כאן שנים רבות כל כך ועוסק בנושא הזה. ראשית, קודם כל, כיצד הדברים נראים מוושינגטון? המיקרופון פתוח, אתה לא צריך להפעיל אותו. והדבר השני, ובאופן יותר ספציפי, האם אתה חושב שהקהילה הבינלאומית תהיה מוכנה להבחין בין הגושים העיקריים של ההתנחלויות לבין אותן התנחלויות מבודדות יותר? תודה רבה, גילי. First of all, I would like to say that it's very important to speak here in Hebrew, even though the topic but because the topic is so, specific, I'd rather continue in English. אתה שאלת על ההתנחלויות, וכמובן שזאת היא סוגיה קריטית. בוודאי בחודשים האחרונים, כל נשיא מאז 1967, מלינדון ג'ונסון עד לברק אובמה, היו מאוד ביקורתיים לגבי פעילות ההתנחלויות בשטחים. מהפעם הראשונה, זו אולי הפעם הראשונה שיש לנו נשיא אמריקני שאולי ינקוט גישה שונה לגבי ההתנחלויות בשטחים, ולדעתי זה יהיה אתגר לישראל, כיוון שבפעם הראשונה יהיה לכם ראש ממשלה ישראלי שלא תהיה לו היכולת, כפי שאני ראיתי בפעמים שאני הייתי בבית הלבן, לומר לקואליציה שלו או לעם בישראל, אני איתכם, אבל וושינגטון בעצם נושפת בעורפי. הפעם ישראל תיאלץ לקבל החלטות קשות בכוחות עצמה ללא ארצות הברית שתאפשר לה להסתתר מאחוריה, שבכך מאפשרת לממשלה לומר הייתי רוצה לעשות את זה אבל אני לא יכולה לעשות זאת. כלומר, ישראל צריכה לקבל החלטות מאוד ברורות וקשות, בכל מה שקשור לשאלה, להבחנה בין גושי ההתנחלויות להתנחלויות המבודדות, אנחנו נכנסים לדיון של החלטת האו"ם ולבעיות שכרוכות בה ולאתגרים הכרוכים בה. הייתה לנו פגישה כבר מממשלו של בוש, היינו מוכנים לנסות להבין ולהבחין בין ההתנחלויות כנושא, כסוגיה חוקית, לעומת סוגיה פוליטית. הדרך היחידה שבה אפשר להיות קונסטרוקטיביים בניסיון לפתור את בעיית ההתנחלויות היא לפתור את זה כבעיה פוליטית, כיוון שאם נדון בכך כבעיה חוקית, הרי שזה משהו שהרבה קשה יותר לפתור, כאשר יש לנו כל כך הרבה מתנחלים מעבר לקו הירוק ומנסים להגדיר את זה כסוגיה משפטית בינלאומית, זה לא יביא אותנו לשום מקום, וזאת הפוליטיקה שבכך. ובעיניי האנשים הרציניים ביותר בוושינגטון מכירים בעובדה הזאת, אפילו הממשל, אולי נוכל להיכנס לכך בשלב מאוחר יותר, בכל מה שקשור לסוגיות הללו, להימנעויות מההצבעה וכדומה, אבל ניכנס לכך לאחר מכן. The last one in the first round is Major General Noam Tibon, and the title of this session migrates between two ends of the discourse, two contradictory approaches, I would say. Settlements as a security burden or liability, or as a security asset. First of all, I think that the project of the settlement is the most dramatic thing that happens in the State of Israel and has been happening in it for the last 30 years. And I think that the discourse around the subject of the settlement and their future has to be a democratic one that has a dialogue between people and less, sort of vociferous yelling and denunciation, which bring about splinters and divides in our people and very, very tough results. There's no doubt that the State of Israel has to decide what will happen in the settlement. And it's important for us to know it, and it should be reached in a democratic way. And from here, I would like to jump straight into the water because I'm only going to talk about security. A few facts. In any given moment, in Judea and Samaria, there serve more soldiers in defending the settlements than along the northern border, along Lebanon and the southern border of the Gaza Strip put together. In other words, most of the IDF regular soldiers that do the routine security, their lines shared daily, can be found in Judea and Samaria. And I'll just give you one example, as an example that would illustrate the situation. In Hebron, there are 500 Israelis living, and I do not like to call them settlers. They are Israelis. And regularly, there's a battalion of 500 soldiers guarding them daily 24/7. And I know this better than anyone else because I was the brigade commander of the Hebron region. There's no precedent to this. This number of soldiers that guards this number of Israelis. And this is why it's so important to understand the numbers, because they bear great significance. I'd like to talk a minute about the security conception when it comes to counterterrorism. I think the entire world is here to learn from us on how we do this. Ultimately, at the end of the day, when you fight terror, there are three important elements. The first one is controlling the enveloping system. When you close the borders, then there's no tiebreaker weaponry that can enter, and no knowledge nor finance. What happens in Judea and Samaria is that on the one hand we have the security fence. No doubt this actually lowered and decreased dramatically the scope of terrorism, and we feel it. But on the other hand, vis-a-vis the state of Jordan, where we have incredible cooperation, the settlements have nothing to do with that. The second point is outstanding intel. We have the former intel directorate. If you want to find terror, you have to have excellent intelligence. Without that, it's like looking for a needle in a haystack. And that's not Army work, 8200, the intel unit. And the third rule is operational freedom and leeway, so that you will be able to operate from the air, from the sea, from the ground, wherever you detect any subversive insurgent activity. And here too, the settlements do not have a central role to play. So I think that when we discuss the settlements, there's so many parameters that should be discussed. And as I said, it has to be a very respectful dialogue. It has to be a democratic dialogue. And I think that to say that the settlements are the thing that causes security, that brings security for the State of Israel or for their own sake, is wrong. I hope that later on we'll be able to talk about the price that the settlements are actually tolling, if they are, from the security perspective or not. I'll comment on that. I'll just give you a short comment. There's something that is very important to mention here. And I always say that we have to take this very seriously. Volunteering to serve in the army and the contribution of people who live in the settlement is extremely high. And that is something that is very important to recognize. Okay. I would like, following the first round of questions, I'd like to show very quickly a few slides. First of all, if I may, what did the Commission of Inquiry, the National Commission of Inquiry, say following the disengagement from Gaza? And you can see this on the screen. The National Commission of Inquiry that was established in order to examine the events which accompanied the evacuation of the Katif bloc and the northern Samaria region. The Prime Minister has to prepare in advance. He bears the responsibility today, not tomorrow, not to procrastinate. He has to prepare for similar events that would require the evacuation of up to 100,000 people. This is a very urgent national task that should not be excluded from the responsibility of the Prime Minister and the necessary preparedness. And here we go into the details. The required preparation is legislation, a specific agency that would be in charge of this, staff work, detailed plan, a very explicit preparation of infrastructures that would be able to be used within a very short time, and also the allocation of resources, of course. And now each of us should ask ourselves if anything of what I read here, and that's a report that was published in 2010, and that's its key recommendation, if anything of what I just read has been done. We presented yesterday a few figures concerning, taken from a public opinion poll that we conducted, and I'll introduce, why can't I switch this? Okay. So I'm going to just present two slides from this poll. The first one relates to what the Jewish public in Israel thinks about the evacuation of settlements in Judea and Samaria within a permanent status agreement. Now, those who are surprised by the figures apparently are not following up on public opinion polls in this country since the beginning of the peace process, which is what, some 23 to 25 years. We see that all in all, if we add up those who are willing to evacuate all the settlements, including the big settlement blocks, which comprise 16%, and those who are willing to evacuate only the ones that are outside of the big blocks, we get to 69% of people Jewish people, who support the evacuation of settlements within the framework of a permanent status agreement. I don't think that anyone sitting here thinks that that's anywhere near, and that it's possible today to say responsibly that in the foreseeable future we can see all the core issues resolved and a permanent status agreement signed. But that was the question. Concerning the second question, which I wanted to present its findings. What is your position, were asked those Jewish citizens, about the evacuation of Judea and Samaria in the framework of an independent organization, a unilateral Israeli resolution we can call. And here we also find a majority with a very, very similar division to that of the previous question of 59%, nearly 60%, who even in a unilateral reorganization, namely a clear-out Israeli initiative without reaching any agreement, perhaps with some sort of coordination, definitely coordination with the U.S., but perhaps also with the Palestinians, but definitely no agreement that is signed, over 50%, nearly 60% are in favor of evacuating settlements. And most of them, nearly 50% of them, of course, are willing to evacuate only those that are outside of the big settlement blocks. Yossi, I'd be very happy if you could respond to this in the next round. But I would like to give the public, the audience, the map of settlements, and this is where they are classified to those that are close to the border and those that are more isolated, those belonging to the big blocks. Everything that is not brown or yellow is either a settlement or a the sea area, which is one that is not highlighted in any of the colors. Now, Yossi, I go back to you with this survey, with this poll, and let's not start by attacking its credibility, but let's just talk about the findings that came out. Okay, so first of all, I have to say there's a basic point. We talk about security, and my friend said, and I remember him, his role in Judea and Samaria. The security discussion is truth must be said. the whole idea of settling the land of Israel has nothing to do with security. Zionism does not have a purpose, and that has been proving in the first Zionist Congresses. We're not looking for the safe haven. There are places that are a lot safer than this interesting neighborhood called the Middle East. We came here because we returned to our homeland. This is why we're here, regardless whether that is within the Green Line or in Judea and Samaria. And the only difference, the only real difference between settling here and settling there is 19 years of Jordanian occupation since the War of Independence until 1967 that was recognized only by Great Britain and Pakistan. Beside that, there's no difference. We're here in Judea and Samaria, which is the core of the historical biblical homeland, or here in Tel Aviv, which is what is added to the biblical historical homeland. Both are our homeland, and we're here because this is our land. It's true that since the days of Zionism, the plow and the home went hand in hand with security. We saw this in Lebanon too as an antithesis. The minute there was no settlement, but only the military, that did not hold. And we saw this before the Six-Day War along the Syrian border, wherever the plow was, wherever the kibbutzim cultivated the land, the IDF was also present, and wherever there were no, settlements, these places were taken away from us. So that's in response to what Noah, my friend, said here. There's nothing like holding on to territory. And again, I think that even if there was a security price, we had to pay it because we came here to settle our homeland. And so many people's lives were sacrificed, by the way, a lot more over the Galilee than Judea and Samaria. The fact that holding on to Judea and Samaria provides a security asset to the existence of the State of Israel is just an add-on. It's something else. But the whole discussion is over that particular area. We need to indeed, when I embarrass many, I host many congressmen, and we work into, and we have an observation over the Ben Gurion airport or Barka near Tel Aviv or the Ashdod port. People do not understand.
People don't understand when decision makers from the world don't understand the proportion between that. There's only 43 miles between the Mediterranean and the Samaria Mountains, and the entire Green Line is 9 miles, and the area is controlled. But we can put it on a slide. We can show it on a slide that you prepared. That's right. So first of all, I want to contextualize this discussion. Before we start discussing security and defense, this is not the reason either way. And even those who want to leave Judea and Samaria or uproot the settlements, it's usually not the security considerations, but various ideologies that motivate them. As for the matter at hand, I think that the public in Israel, I don't wish to contradict any public opinion poll, but the thing is that in every elections, even when the Judean, the settlements in North Judea and Samaria and the Katif block and the Gaza Strip were uprooted, with 4 small settlements, and I was a member of one of them. Sharon was willing to continue with this, and even to lose his government in order not to reach a situation of a referendum, and the Israeli public keeps supporting this for 2 reasons, I think. First of all, that they support the fact that it is ours, or the opinion that it is ours, and secondly, that they understand the security issues. And most of the public is wise enough, after 20-odd years of Oslo and the deportation of Jews from their homes, and so much blood, even the Jews understand where this is heading, and even the Arabs do. Noam, I'd like to hear from you, following what Yossi said, about the costs and benefits from a security point of view, and also if you can tie this to the disengagement. Well, there's one thing about which I understand with Yossi, and that is that this is not a security question. Yossi is a friend of mine. And it is not purely a security issue. When you look at the settlements, that's why I said that the discussion has to be respectful, because this is a serious matter. People live there, citizens of Israel, and that's why I don't like so much when people say deportation or when people say we're going to kick them out. It should be discussed in a much more serious way. The main topic at hand is not actually a question of security. The main question, presuming that we are to stay in Judea and Samaria, whether this is going to be a Jewish democratic state or we're going to become something else. And if we become something else, what will that be? Is it going to be, and I still don't like this word, but I'll still use it, is it going to be apartheid? Is it going to be an Arab majority state? These things are the heart and core of this discussion, and this is what we should focus on. Security matters, that's a different case. So I will relate to those very briefly then first. When so much force or power is invested in protecting roads, protecting settlements, and I was there and I served there in the army, and I know that every soldier, everyone serving in Judea and Samaria, they have defending and protecting the settlers as their top priority. They don't want anyone to get hurt. The price of that is that a lot of the resources of the army is invested there, and they don't train enough. And then afterwards we have cases like the Second Lebanon War and the Gaza operations where this begins to show. So less training, less preparedness. Let me refer to the Air Force as well. Our Air Force, an excellent Air Force, is not so much into this thing in Judea and Samaria. Therefore they train better, and therefore they're better prepared for war. So we have to understand that from a security point of view, the fact that most of the army is there has a certain price tag. Thank you. לאחר החלטת מועצת הביטחון 2334 ונאומו של קרי, אנחנו שומעים עכשיו ופיקוח מוגבר של מזכ"ל האו"ם, דיווח על פעילויות כאלה ואחרות וכן הלאה. האם אנחנו נכנסים כעת לעידן חדש במובן זה? אני רוצה להתייחס קודם כל לנקודה מסוימת, במיוחד מנקודת המבט של ארצות הברית. הדיון הזה על ההתנחלויות למעשה קשור לעניינים שונים ומשונים. ישנו הנושא הביטחוני, ישנו הרכיב הטריטוריאלי האידיאולוגי. מנקודת המבט האמריקנית, היסטורית, מה שניסינו לעשות הוא לפרק או להפריד בין השניים. מצד אחד לומר, אנחנו נעמוד לצד ישראל, נסייע לישראל, נקדם את ביטחון ישראל, את דרישות הביטחון של ישראל, כדי שתוכל להקריב את הקורבנות למען השלום. אנחנו ננסה לעזור לישראל בענייני הביטחון שלה, ונמצא כאן ג'ון אלן שעשה אולי את המאמץ הגדול ביותר כדי לברר מהן דרישות הביטחון של ישראל בגדה המערבית, כדי להפריד את האלמנט הביטחוני מן האלמנט האידיאולוגי או האלמנט של השטח. כאשר מדובר בנושא הביטחון, אנחנו עומדים לצדכם, ואפילו עסקתי בזה עם חיל האוויר, ודובר על נושא של נמל התעופה, מהדרישות של נמל תעופה בן גוריון מבחינה ביטחונית וכן הלאה. אבל כאשר מדובר על נושא השטח או הנושא האידיאולוגי וחלוקת השטח, כאן אנחנו נדרשים לשאלה הבסיסית, מה אתם רוצים שיהיה כאן בשטח שבין הים התיכון לבין הירדן? האם חלוקה, אותו רעיון שהיה ביסודה, היה מונח ביסודה של דעת הקהילייה הבינלאומית לגבי היחסים בין יהודים וערבים כאן בשטח הזה, שהחלה כבר בהצעת החלוקה, שזה מה שנחשב לאופציה הפחות גרועה מכולם, רעיון החלוקה. צריך להבין שקיים איזשהו רצף בין אז לבין היום. אחת השאלות ששאלת היה לגבי 2334. חוסר הנוחות שלי מההחלטה זו היא משום שהיא חוזרת להתמודדות עם שאלת ההתנחלויות כשאלה משפטית לעומת שאלה פוליטית. העניין הוא לא שזה לא נכון, אנחנו יכולים לדון אם זה נכון או לא נכון, אבל זה לא עוזר. זה לא עוזר מכיוון מה שעשינו בעצם היה לקחת את אותם 80% מן המתנחלים שחיים בגושי ההתנחלות, שהם חלק מן המיינסטרים הישראלי, הקונסנזוס, ולמעשה מיזגנו אותם עם אלה שנמצאים במאחזים או בהתנחלויות מבודדות, ולומר לכולם, כולכם לא חוקיים. וכאשר עושים את הדבר הזה, ללא ספק, הישראלים מתאחדים מסביב להתנחלויות ולא נגדם, ואם אתה חלק מן הקהילה הבינלאומית שרוצה הסדר שהתבסס על חלוקה, הרי שזו ירייה ברגל בעצם. זו לא הדרך להתנהל, ואנחנו, עדיף לנו, אחרי הכל, זהו העתיד שלכם. איזו מין מדינה אתם רוצים כאן? האם אתם רוצים עתיד משותף עם ערביי ארץ ישראל או פלסטינים, או איך שאתם רוצים לקרוא להם, איך אתם תסתדרו? אנחנו, אמריקה, נעמוד לצדכם, אבל באיזו מדינה אתם רוצים לחיות? כל הנושאים האלה שלובים זה בזה. אם אתם רוצים להפוך למדינה שאליה התייחס האלוף, ואני לא רוצה להשתמש באותה מילה שמתחילה באלף, אבל אם לכאן הדברים הולכים, יהיה קשה לנו כארצות הברית לעמוד לצדכם, מכיוון שבבסיס היחסים שבינינו נמצאים עניינים כמו ערכים משותפים והשקפות משותפות. כך שכל הנושאים האלה שלובים ושזורים זה בזה. Thank you. Can you show the maps, please? I would like to ask you, Hagit. Maybe partition is not necessary. It's not necessary, following on what Rob said, in order to preserve the identity and the character of Israel as a Jewish democratic state. Perhaps the settlements are not an obstacle neither to peace nor to any kind of agreement, and you are trying very, very hard to show otherwise. I think that the point of departure is that Israel's security depends on the ability to reach a settlement of two states, two nations, with the Palestinian state next to us, plus security, plus economy, plus potential for development, plus equal division, or at least a normal division of means among all Palestinian residents, so that the Palestinians should have a good life next to us, side by side with us, and then that will be a chance for us to live peacefully side by side. This is the best chance for Israel's security, and from that we can deduce that obviously settlements don't contribute to peace, because they form an obstacle to this kind of arrangement. Now, when we look at settlement blocks, or say that there are some settlements that can be annexed, which, as it's presented here, well, this is a very problematic argument, because let me say, under Netanyahu, since 2009, about 13,000 new homes were built, or slightly more, actually. And from the point of view of proportions, 70% were beyond the lines of the Geneva model, which is the only model that we have, or the Geneva Initiative. So all those places were added in places where, according to the only model that we now have on the table, namely the Geneva Initiative, they're all outside the borderlines of future Israel. Now, let me show you, when it comes to Ma'ale Adumim, for example, what does it mean? What are the implications for a thriving, viable state of Palestine? So can you see east of Jerusalem, all those orange or brown color, whatever you see here? These are the Palestinian neighborhoods. You can see Ramallah to the north, on the right-hand side, and East Jerusalem and Bethlehem. Now, if you click the slideshow again, who's doing that? Am I supposed to do that? Oh, no, okay. They're doing it up there. Yeah. I have someone helping me. You can stand up if you wish to do so. No, I can see it on the monitor. That's fine. So the yellow lines show the development potential of the heart of the Palestinian state. If we speak of a state that can develop further with somewhere to build, the main metropolis is in the heart here between Ramallah and Bethlehem, And East Jerusalem here in the inner area, and the outer area is the Ramallah Bethlehem metropolis. Now, if I can get some more help from above here, let's add the settlements and the block as the government of Israel presents it on the fence, on the map of the, when we look at the map of the fence. So look what this does to potential Palestinian development. You can see E1 is the only island for development of the Palestinian capital in East Jerusalem, because we've built all around that. So when we say Ma'ale Adumim is not a problem, or the Ma'ale Adumim block is not a problem, because it is a problem, because otherwise how can we have a Palestinian state with East Jerusalem as its capital that can still develop? How can we defend this? So a couple more slides here. This is the number of Palestinian residents vis-a-vis Israeli citizens. So you can see how the division of this area can look like. In the Geneva Initiative, there was an agreement over Ma'ale Adumim that will be annexed to Israel, but not in this form, but rather in a minimal way, which will harm the Palestinian potential for development in the least possible way. Now, let's look at it again from the east, looking westwards towards Israel. So the brown areas are the Palestinian settlements, and with another click we can see now the settlement blocks, what Israel calls settlement blocks, with Ariel in the center. We can see that it cuts right through the Palestinian states, but from an Israeli security point of view, these are like fingers extending into the Palestinian state, some 20 kilometers in. So what kind of development potential is there? And Yossi Dayan speaks about that porch. So let's say that this is the Palestinian state and Israel is in red. Kalkilia in the western area here, it doesn't move anywhere. It's going to stay within the Palestinian state. And if they want to control our airport, even if we annex the entire Ariel area, we're not going to solve that problem. We're still not going to have control over that area, even if we don't make two states. So the only way to secure it is to have a sound and sturdy peace agreement, just as we have one with Jordan. So with God's help, if we have a sturdy one with the Palestinian state, they will help us stop terrorism. Well, you have many assumptions there. A strong Palestinian state, a strong and sturdy peace agreement. There are many assumptions there which don't all meet current reality. Well, as long as we allow it to happen sometime in the future, rather than continue ruining this option. Let me move on to you now, Yossi. Will you say a couple of words about annexing Ma'ale Adumim, because this is right now on the public agenda, on the agenda of the government right now. And afterwards, will you please relate to what has been said, and we can present the 2 or 3 slides that you have brought. I would like you to relate to those big settlement blocks which are near the Green Line, and just as long as you all understand what I'm talking about the western, what lies west of the wall. I think that apropos this PR terminology of settlement blocks, there are 2 or 3 painful illusions. Well, painful because the implementation has been painful, but it's painful to let go of them. This is a certain process which is now materializing. The first is the illusion that the world will force that. I was glad to hear what Hagit said earlier on, after I talked about my experience in Washington last week. There was an attempt by all kinds of extreme left organizations, and others have said this as well, that we have actually despaired of continuing this discussion within Israeli society, and we want the world to decide. And I think that Trump's rise to power somehow reflects that. But I don't think so. I think that the argument should be decided here, and I'm not going to act against my government ever. Now, as for the settlement blocks, I think that there's something about understanding reality here. I think that anyone who looks at the map, and what Hagit just said is important, but let me look at it from a different direction. Let's look at our maps now again. If you could go back here. We have gone past the point of no return. The settlement project of Judea and Samaria. We're talking about more than 460,000 settlers in Judea and Samaria, outside of East or North Jerusalem. So this talk about blocks, it sounds like a lot, but if you look at the area, it's only 4 to 10% of the entire area. Most of historical sites are out of those. The strategically important places are out of those, outside of those. And there are 250,000 settlers outside those blocks. And if you think that after the disengagement of 8,000 people, no more, with all the cost that entailed, we can uproot another 450,000, then I don't know where they take that from. Okay, as for the security aspect of it, I spoke about this before, but let me just say another sentence. Do you want to see that cross-section that's... Yeah, well, this is the airport. Let's move on. Where is the cross-section? No, not this one. This one. And please conclude. I think that anyone looking at the map, seeing what you can see from each spot, you see how small the area is, and understand the topography. I think that after 20 years of Oslo, to continue talking about more of the same is just like taking a cup and throwing it and expect it to go up instead of go down. So the entire discussion, I think, is irrelevant, because after 20 years, well, thank you. Noam, 1 minute, and then we have to conclude. I think this is a very serious discussion. If we were to conduct a survey and ask Israelis what is most important about settlement in Judea and Samaria, people would say first and foremost security and nothing else. So in any future settlement arrangement, the security and safety of the State of Israel is what should guide us, nothing else. Rob? 30 שניות לסיכום. נראה לי שיש להבחין בין שני דברים חשובים. אני חושב שהממשל היוצא, ממשל אובמה, ניסה לומר כך: בהיעדר תהליך שלום, מה שחשוב הוא לעצור את הדינמיקה שפוסלת או מוציאה מגדר האפשרות הסדר או הסכם שלום עתידי. במילים אחרות, אין שום עסקה שמתקרבת כרגע. מסגרת אוסלו לא תתממש היום. אבל, אלא אם כן הדינמיקה שמשנה את המצב הוא ההתנחלויות. ולאור הבחירות אצלנו, כפי הנראה, יהיה לנו עכשיו ממשל שיהיה מאוד אוהד את מפעל ההתנחלויות. זה בעצם מפעיל עליכם לחץ חזרה כדי להחליט מה אתם רוצים. האם אתם רוצים מדינה כזו או כזה, האם אתם רוצים להשאיר את הדלת פתוחה לפשרה טריטוריאלית עם הפלסטינים או לא. תודה רבה. And will you please join me in applauding the speakers and panelists here? Thank you very much. I hope that the discussion held here in the past 45 minutes will be able to spread in the same way, same style, and same moderation to the rest of the Israeli public. Thank you very much.